One day I thought about this idea, which is live today as if that's the last day of my life. So outside was a beautiful day. I decided to walk around. There was a passage nearby that I enjoy, and I wanted to experience the sense of being with nature. As I walked out, I saw some trash, so I decided to clean up. And after that, I started to go to one of my favorite places where there's rock, trees, and ocean. And you can hear the sound of ocean and there are birds. So I was there, and when I got that place, there was a lady coming back because I saw her passing by when I was cleaning up the trashes. She was coming back to my direction. I told her, "What a beautiful day. I feel like transparent." The sense of transparency is connecting to that idea of nothingness, emptiness, and no mind, so that the mind is free. In any case, she acknowledged the meaning of transparency, and I was surprised if I could really communicate. So I mentioned to her about Waku, the liveliness. I have put that video elsewhere on YouTube. And further, I mentioned the idea of being conscious of unconscious, which is like a Zen term. It may not be easy to understand, but I wanted to check if she can follow. And she seemed to have acknowledged that. So I further talked about other things, including this video that I saw, which is by the Finnish woman, and she was talking about the sign of the universe. And not just that, I had other experiences that I don't go into, but meeting this person, that person, and sharing the ideas. And whatever the situation, I try to make the most of the situation. That idea of that living as if that's the last day of the life. Instead of having the last day when you couldn't move, you might as well to do that practice whatever you can. So I think that's a very good idea that I would suggest anyone to do it. Even though some people may be working and it's not easy to practice. If so, if you want to have a whole day on the weekend, I suggest maybe not even the whole day. Practice for 2 hours or 1 hour. I think that might be meaningful. That's my suggestion. Because you may find something very interesting. Like I said, in my case, I think that thinking triggered more actions related to that to appreciate each moment. So I don't take it lightly. Whenever I had the opportunity, I try to share that idea of doing my best in each moment. So one of the thought that popped up, the Bushido, that's the term for swordsmanship. And the story of Bushido was very close to me after that experience. The reason is that if you live in the now as if that's the last day of your life, I can relate to or resonate some of the saying. And one of the saying I remember was the guy who did something caused him to have a death. So one day he was walking, the last day he was walking to the place where his neck was chopped, to be chopped, execution day. And when he was walking down with the others who is to kill him, someone came by and asked, "If you want to have this plum, please have it." And his answer then was something like, "Well, I don't need it because if I have the plum, my stomach get disturbed and may have a diarrhea or something of that nature. The funny thing is that why he would reject eating plum if that was something he likes, but his principle was already set that he lived in such a way to be cautious about not eating the plum or disturbing the stomach. He wouldn't touch on that. So that is one incident that I thought was interesting. The other incident I remember was perhaps reading the book called Zen and Swordsmanship, or Zen and Sword. I think that was the title by Soken Omori, the Japanese book. But in that book, I believe there was a story of a man tried at one occasion. This is the sword, Bushi, the swordman, and his superior was testing how ready this person is, so that he said, "Okay, now you're the swordman working for me. I order you to have seppuku, which is cutting your belly to kill yourself." And that was what he said, as if to test he's ready for being a swordman. What happened is that he didn't say anything, and he was just prepared to die in that instant by doing the seppuku, which is. And when I read that story years ago, it's hard to believe, so I let go. But now, having this time spent as if this is the last day to live my life, I thought the life of the swordman was precisely to be ready to die. And those are the days, maybe hundreds of years ago, and I've known the story of Musashi Miyamoto, who wrote a book called Five Rings. And it became vivid that that was perhaps real, that those incidents took place. So the Zen and the swordsmanship had some relationship because it's about living in the now. It sounds horrible or unreal, but after I spent this thought of living this is my last day of my life, somehow I felt how they lived their life so sincerely and truthfully. Western mind, I use such word, may think it unreal or that's not morally right or something of that nature, but if you are living only 50 years, that may have been the average lifespan at the time, I felt that the whole society was more vivid in terms of facing life and death every day, not just the swordman, but the people working on citizens in the town. Things are so unreal and tense in some way or the other. And the samurai or bushi was living with such mind that you may not live long. We can argue if that's good or bad, but in today's age, and I practice this idea, that triggered me to those more of an ancient tradition or the way of life. It happened before in Japan. So this thought, some may argue that's unreal, and to think like that is unreal. But depending upon the environment where you live, when you live, such situation may be feasible. I also remember this is a story of Western, some kind of literature, perhaps American or perhaps European. My son was reading And there was a guy, I think he was a slave. Yeah, that's right. He was, my son was probably 8 years old or something, and this is the story of the slave man saying that he's a slave, but his mind is free. The point is that environment does not control how we live. So he's not complaining about the situation, but he is with his own being, and that sensation, the sense that I get, may be even connected to what I was talking about, living in the now. In other words, you're not confined by the situation, the typical notion of how you may feel unhappy about, that it may be a good practice to open up a day or even 1 hour to take it that's the last day of your life. Oh, there's one story I can add on to it, which is I had some trouble. I think, yes, my mind was disturbed at certain things that, and I was looking for a paper to 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 share with others, and I couldn't. And when I had the sensation of, oh, where did it go? And my mind was a little bit troubled. I remember that sense of living in the now, or in this case, each day as if that's the last day. So when I thought about that, what happened is that I was not as rushing or disturbed because with that sense of clarity, importance of living in the now, you are in a different dimension compared to the mind caught up in whatever you have to do and being rushed. So perhaps the essence of this, if this is a teaching, I think it is something like if you have that state practiced and be aware of how you live that day or hour as if that's the last moment, that would clarify your mind, and accordingly you find a way to be calm and quiet and be aware instead of tangled up and put yourself in the prison of thought, even though there's a door open. Thank you.